Please be seated. Two of my less attractive personality traits are that I can be obstinate and overconfident. While there are a lot of situations and contexts where this combination of character defects doesn't fare well for me, these two personality traits are particularly problematic when it comes time for me to assemble IKEA furniture. Instructions? Nope. Why? Well, A, I don't like being told what to do, and B, of course I can figure it out. Well, time after time, what this amounts to is me tightening the last screw on the bookshelf with that hexagon wrench thing and taking a step back to look at my completed masterpiece, only to realize that all of the shelves were put in upside down, meaning it's time for me to take half the bookshelf apart, flip all the shelves right side up, and put it all back together again. One day, I hope I will learn to just read the instructions. This evening, in 18 tiny verses from John's Gospel, we heard the story of our creation and the story of our salvation. The story of how Christ, the Word, was with God and was in fact God, and how all things came into being through him. And then came the moment that changed the world forever. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. No shepherds, no angels, no manger in John's Gospel. Just the most elegant of poetry announcing the arrival of the Messiah and narrating a cosmic event. Heaven piercing earth to make things right again. For John, he's much less concerned about describing how it happened. Stars and a census are mere distractions to him. He's much more concerned about telling us why it happened, why heaven came down to earth that starry Christmas evening. In the beginning, John tells us, was the Word. In English, a word is just a string of letters, or figuratively a sign of trust. I gave her my word. But in Greek, the word we translate as word, logos, is steeped with meaning. Yes, it translates as word, but philosophically it means something so much deeper. It refers to the order of a system, like how electrons spin around the nucleus of an atom, or even more deeply, its overarching purpose, its plan. So in the beginning was the plan. In the beginning, John tells us, were the three persons of the Trinity bound together as one substance by a divine love. Out of that love, our world would be created, and out of creation, they would want love. That was the plan. Except love is not forced, it's freely entered into. And so imparted into the order, imparted into the plan for the universe was a choice to love. A choice to love God and a choice to love the icons of God. Every person and every living being. So now with the plan in place, it was time for creation, time for all things to be called into being. But imagine the weight of God's omniscience at that moment right before creation. The desire to love and the hope to be loved, all being held in tension with the knowledge that at times we would fail to do so. A knowledge that time after time God would have to raise prophet after prophet to remind us, I desire steadfast love, not sacrifices. And that time after time we would eventually fall back into our old ways. Imagine God knowing that we would even nail Christ to a cross, and that nevertheless God would choose to walk among us, heal us, and forgive us, all to bear witness to that divine love for us. And imagine a knowledge that even after watching God turn a gory crucifixion into an invitation to eternal life, that we would still fail to love, because our love has limits. But God's love doesn't have limits. God's love for each of us was so deep. God's mercy toward us was so wide. God's hope for each and every one of us was so unbridled that God couldn't help but to shout, "Let there be light." And that light was the life of the world, a promise of steadfast love, a covenant to be with us always. John's creation story tells us God's innermost thoughts. That in the beginning, I loved you and I called you here. In the beginning, I knew you, your strengths and your weaknesses. In the beginning, I smiled as you did my will. I wept as you walked away, and I rejoiced as you came back. In the beginning, I stretched out my arms to bear your yoke, and I forgave you to make your burden light. In the beginning, I loved you, and you were marked as mine forever. John told us the entire plot of salvation in those first 18 verses. Then he spends the rest of the book showing us how God so loved the world. Walking on water with a hand extended for when things get too rough for us. Restoring the sight of the blind so that all might walk in his light. And through his glorious resurrection, destroying death and raising earth to heaven. But maybe this evening it's hard to imagine a God who so loved the world, especially as we look back at 2025 and remember all the tragedy and dysfunction locally, nationally, and internationally. The fires, the wars, the shootings, the kidnappings, and all the people who live in fear because of their nationality, their religion, or their gender. And putting all of that aside for a moment, maybe it's hard for you or I to believe that God so loves us this much because of those things we've done or those things we left undone, those times we failed to love, those times we forgot about the plan. To me, this whole God coming among us doesn't really make much sense until the end of John's Gospel, when Thomas couldn't bring himself to believe in a God who loved the world, who loved him that much either. In that moment, the risen Word made flesh stood before him and said, "See my hands, feel my side, and believe. Believe that I am with you in times of death, and believe that I am with you in times of new life. I knew you'd nail me to a tree. I knew you'd pierce my side. And I'd do it all over again to show you that I am with you and that I love you. It was that very love that changed Thomas's life, turning him from a man who was locked in an upper room, afraid of the state of the world, and transformed him into an evangelist who would travel near and far to show and tell people about this love that rises above the imperfections and messiness of this world, disassembling the mistakes of the past and calling us to love, to heal, to renew, and to forgive. Because somehow deep down in our hearts, we know that's how things are supposed to be. We know that's how we're supposed to be. We know that that was the plan all along. So this evening we gather not to see an infant. Rather, we're reminded of that ancient plan, that instruction booklet that reminds us of how to make everything right again. Loving God and loving neighbor. We're here tonight to hear those life-changing words once again. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. To be reminded once again that love is possible here on earth, because we saw that love in the flesh, lying in a manger, walking among us. 9 months ago, Mary said the simplest of prayers, "Be it unto me according to thy word. Be it unto me according to thy plan." That is our Christmas prayer, to let the word into our hearts. That is our nativity petition, to live out that plan in our lives. That love will change us. That love will change the world. And it is that love that came down from heaven tonight to dwell among us. May you feel that love, be changed by that love this night and forevermore.